Let me go to my guest. She's here. Excellent. We are joined with the one, the only Sarah Bils. She is host of DD Geopolitics, a fantastic media outlet, as I was telling the audience. I've become reliant on some of these things as they pop up because they help with the news. And one guy, Lord Babo, I don't even know if it's a guy. I'm assuming it's a guy. Even him, like, he does fantastic work in putting out like videos, articles, stuff like, it's like, I assume that he just spends his day doing it. I don't know if he's like a 90-year-old that just has nothing else to do and just puts it all on social media. And I'm like, great work. Because, you know, there's some outlets out there. What is the thing called? Current Report. And I've become very dickish to some of these outlets because they put out nonsense. And it's almost as if the CIA just said, hey, put this out for me. And it's like, okay. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, I've just started getting very derisive towards these outlets. How you doing today? You doing all right?
I'm doing good. Thank you for your high praise. The person area is actually the one who verifies everything. Barut, who was on your show.
Yeah.
He works his butt off. And actually, he yells at me when I don't verify things. So everything on the Twitter is very verified and double checked. So yeah, we take a lot of pride in being accurate, not fast, not always first, but always accurate. And if not, then we never have a problem going back and correcting it. But yes, the fake news under the anti-fake news president, it's out of control. Even yesterday was a great example. There was so much fake news and nothing was even really happening.
Well, so the fake news is out of control on social media. I've not found anything where you guys have fucked up with yet. I still double check just because I would prefer to double check before I run it.
And let us know if you find something. But yeah, we try really hard. That we made it like a game, like to not get any community notes, and I think we've only had like 2.
Oh, have you? You've had community notes? Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, I haven't seen anything where you guys have fucked up on yet. I always check because I have to, because I need to see primary sources. And so oftentimes you may see me on my Twitter thing says source, exclamation, question mark. I'm being somewhat, again, a little bit dickish. And usually when I do that, I don't believe the story. And I think the person's making this shit up. And I'm like, okay, where did you get this from? Where did you see this? And then they would say, WAPO where?
Yeah, well, that happened yesterday. They put something out. It was actually the Zionists that put it out. And we were like, where is this? And they used WAPO as a source, and nobody could find this stuff anywhere. It's gotten even worse to where they're just citing the mainstream media who they've already discredited thoroughly. And then we can't even find it on the mainstream media. So they're just lying about it. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's really bad.
It's insane. One guy put out, it was like, Iran confirms they have a nuke. It's like, have they? That's news to me. Source. Like, it's too stupid. Like, some of it is so over the top that I'm like, okay, where are you getting? Like, I don't get it. And the thing is, it would be like 50 people retweeted. It's like, are you shitting me? You retweeted this shit. You retweeted this shit.
It's clear that most of these people have jumped on geopolitics as like a grift. Yeah. They don't have the background kind of foundational knowledge in it, and they'll just report anything. And you're like, that's not even possible given the conditions that exist. But you would know that if you reported on this. I even posted something the other day because they were all posting, oh, Putin's rushing to the Kremlin. And I'm like, if you didn't, my post literally said, if you hadn't just started reporting on the Ukraine and Russia war and you knew about this war, you would know that this video is from 2023. It's like,
he sleeps in the Kremlin.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Yeah. He sleeps there. He has, for fuck's sake, they had video, him giving an interview showing where he lays his head at nights. And so the notion that he's rushing back to the Kremlin to get away from, it's like, okay, dude, where have you been? Where have you been?
Even if not, like common sense tells you the strike was planned. It's clearly a planned strike. Even just looking at it, why would he be rushing anywhere if it's a planned strike? Like common sense, it's just they don't even have that because they're not reporters, they're not journalists, they're not analysts. They are influencers. That's it. That's all they are.
I guess they're trying to insinuate that Ukraine is waging an attack and Putin is so terrified he's trying to rush to the Kremlin. I don't know what they're trying to insinuate.
Or that the attack wasn't planned and Putin's got to get right back to the Kremlin. And yeah, it's just stupid stuff. Like they don't even know how Russia even
operates.
They don't. Like every country has a personality. You kind of get to know it as you're doing your work. And I'm like, you don't even have that like foundational knowledge to even just. This is what happens when Elon tells you you're the news, I guess. You just say whatever you want and it's the news.
You're the news. It's like you all love the news.
Yeah, you're all my news now.
Speaking of Elon telling people they're the news. So okay, I couldn't figure out a segue for that, so I'll run with it. But, give me your take on what is taking place with Iran, Israel, and Trump effectively using Israel as a proxy to attack the U.S. And by the way, speaking of fake news, that's not isolated to Elon. This is the Washington Post. So the Washington Post, the New York Times, Washington Post, all of these media outlets are doing heavy lifting to try to make it look as if Israel, who gains 80% support from the United States, every child that's burned alive, 80% of that child comes from us. Every bomb that's dropped, every missile that's fired, every bullet that's shot, 80% of it comes from us. And they're trying to act like a country with that much clout and money into the process has nothing to do with that other country, which is amazing to me. So it's right here. In recent months, U.S. intelligence officials have grown increasingly concerned that Israel may choose to strike Iran's nuclear facilities without the consent of the United States. Really? You think they'll do that, huh? So if the U.S. turned around and says, you're on your own, you really think that Netanyahu, that Israel will still be like, fuck it, we're on our own, doing it on our own? They would run out of bombs, missiles, bullets, they would run out of all that shit. I mean, just for the genocide, let alone for something that is an exchange between Iran and Israel. They would get crushed, and they know it. And any plan that they have would entirely depend upon the assistance and the help of the United States. For whatever reason, Washington Post doesn't seem to know that.
Well, here's the thing, and we discussed this thoroughly yesterday. Israel knows fully well that even if they struck tomorrow, the United States has no choice but to get involved. What are they going to do? Say no to their greatest ally? It will rip the country in half right now. Listen, I mean, I don't have to tell you or even our viewers, but between the riots, we can talk about those two if you want, but the riots, the debacles that are happening all over the world, the trade disasters, we have another Boeing disaster today. So between all of that and the tensions rising within the United States, people are stoking racial tensions. Violence is upticking. Disenchantment and disenfranchisement is growing. If Israel were to strike Iran and the United States decided not to participate, it would rip the country in half. And oh yes, and Netanyahu knows that. He 100% knows that. He knows that Trump has no choice if he strikes Iran to get involved. He has no choice. He has no choice. None.
The majority of the country doesn't back Israel.
Right, 53%. But the majority of the money backs Israel.
Well, I'm just talking about the country at this point. The majority of the U.S., in fact, is higher than 53%. If you break it down by various demographics, that number goes up to 60, 70%.
Yeah, in some demographics, but overall, 53%, sure.
And then you even get the situation where the overwhelming majority of the country does not want to strike on Iran, meaning they don't want us anywhere near.
Well, we won't be striking. That's the thing. That's how they get around all of it. We didn't do it. We didn't know. We told them not to do it. They sucked us into this. We're obligated.
The public can't be that stupid. They can't be that stupid.
They don't care anymore. They're telling us things that we're like, that's a lie. Like you're blatantly lying. They don't care. They really don't care. I forget what we were talking about yesterday. I was like, They're literally just lying to us and they don't even care to like pretend anymore. They're just cats out of the bag. I mean, they really don't care. That's worrying. I mean, look at this. 8 days ago, Boeing gets off the hook by paying a fine, and then Trump awards them the Etihad Airways contract off of his Middle Eastern Safari, and then they got the huge contract for the next gen fighter, and then today another plane falls out of the sky and kills 250 people. I mean, that's what we're working with here. They don't care. They don't care what we say. They don't care how we feel. They don't care.
What kind of plane was it, by the way? I know it was for
Boeing
India.
737, I believe. Boeing 7.
So it was a buzzer. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a Boeing.
Okay, fair enough.
India uses Boeing. They don't use Airbus because they're our ally. They use our planes.
My sympathies are completely with the families, because this was the Indian Airlines, right? This one was going from India to London or London to India.
Indian Airways. Yeah, I think so.
My sympathies goes.
It didn't even make it out of India. It doesn't look. Yeah, they didn't even make it out of India. They're saying it could have been a bird strike, but we've seen so many cases like this or similar. Birds don't strike this often. I'm sorry. I worked in aviation for 13 years in the Navy. Birds don't strike this often. And they've had over 10 crashes, I think, in the last 3 years. That's insane.
Boeing is a shit product. It didn't used to be that way. It's just become that way. Yeah. We used to have a guy from the National Transportation Safety Board. And what he pointed out was that somewhere along the way, when Boeing, I think is it Eli Whitney? No, it was Boeing and another company that is a finance company joined hands, that they started to care less about the mechanics and the engineering and started forming more focus on how do we make money? How do we make profits? In which case the engineering tanked. It's a trash company.
It's terrible.
And it's a trash company.
And I worked with Boeing. I worked with Boeing on the P-8 Poseidon, which was the most recent patrol and reconnaissance aircraft. When I tell you that these people are retarded, I shouldn't say that. They're stupid. They're retarded. They're lazy. They actually ripped the military off by saying this has a warranty on it, so nobody can fix this but us for the next 5 years. So the military is screwed either way. They don't give them the support equipment they need. I remember we needed a piece of support equipment to remove a certain module from a plane, and every plane needed one because every plane has that module. They had one for the entire base. It's horrendous. The stuff that like Boeing is a shit company. It's a shit company, and we keep propping them up because we can't say our planes have failed. Our aviation sector is failing.
But that's the military's fault. The military is a Goliath. If you had people who was looking out for U.S. interests, like I always ask this question of bang for the buck. It doesn't matter that we spend $1 trillion a year for the military. It matters a return on investment. And are we certain that the money that we're putting into it is coming back in a return? So, for example, Russia has just beaten all of NATO with an $80 billion a year military budget. That's astonishing. China has $230 billion military budget? And I would wager to you that if that was the case with China, they would have hung whoever allowed that contract to go through that allowed that. Meaning that would have never happened in China. Of that nonsense.
The Boeing CEO would be dead.
Yeah, they would do it. They would do it. It's a vital interest. You're talking about something that is our people are going to war over, and you're in it trying to make a buck at the expense of the military. And I would wager to you that all of these companies are doing it. It's not just Boeing. I wager all of them doing it. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm being too brutal. But if you have $1 trillion trough, can you really keep an oversight on where that money is going and how fast that money is going out? And the answer is no. One of my pet, what's the word I'm looking for? Not pet peeves, pet, I can't think of the name of the word, but things that I like is, and this sounds horrible, I love watching interrogations. And one of the things that I used to like also is watching these crime stories. And in one of the crime stories, these two women ran a company selling like nuts, bolts, these like little widgets and stuff like that. They got a contract with the military. And by accident, they realized that the military wasn't looking at the payments. It was automated. And so they would say 30 little widgets, $3,000.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
And that is insane to me. They went for years doing that.
We do it knowingly. I mean, there were ball bearings. I just as an example, I used to work in contracting and logistics in the military, and there were ball bearings that I could have gotten at Home Depot for like less than $1 each, and I had to pay like $37 per because I had to get them from a certain company, and then I had to wait. That's just how it is, and that is actually so. That's one of the reasons why Anduril, and that's the business plan for Anduril, really, is to cut that sort of thing out. Right, is to say, now this is going to sound like I'm pitching Anduril, but Anduril saw that problem. This is what these companies do: is they find problems in the public sector and the semi-private sector, and they say, "I can fix that problem, but we got to fully privatize." And that's what Anduril's doing. They're saying, "I am going to change." They want to revolutionize the way that we do contracting. Instead of us putting out an idea and then 10 companies coming back and say, here's what I can do with your idea, here's how I can produce it, and here's how much it would cost, that actually puts the costs back on the government, because the government's then responsible for seeing this thing through, right? No matter what the costs are. Anduril plans to go to the government with a product and then says, this is what this product does. If you're interested in buying it, this is how we'll go forward. And so the government, but that puts the control into Anduril's hands. So it's kind of a trade-off. Yes, Anduril's fixing a process, probably not going to make as much money as they would if they entered into the process as it stands, but they're going to monopolize it. They're going to be able to do whatever they want. And then they're going to be able to dictate the tools that the United States government actually uses, because they're going to, that's what Elon Musk does. Here's the information that you get. You got to choose just from this. And that's what Anduril's going to do. Here are the products. This is what you get to choose. Who else is going to make them? Boeing?
Russia doesn't do that as a policy.
Well, China doesn't do that. Very much integrated with their private sector, especially when it comes to the military.
As it should be.
Yes.
As it should be. It's defense.
Well, that's why Russia and China, especially Russia, can move into a war economy very easily, almost seamlessly. America could never. The United States could never move into a war economy the way that Russia could.
I'm an ideologue on this front. There are certain sectors that electricity, energy, military, all of those things should be under state. The private sector, no. No, I do not trust.
That's one of our issues, that we're running out of things to privatize, right? And now we're starting to privatize things that are traditionally, and I mean, that really should be public. And that's what these capitalists do. These sort of come in, and like I said, they see something that people complain about, right? Oh, this is slow. The government's inefficient at this, and they say, I want that government contract. The same thing with USAID. USAID was a Goliath of government funding, and they saw that and they said, we want those contracts. What can we do? And you know who's doing it now? Palantir. So all these things that people think Trump is cutting so much, he's getting rid of all of this bureaucracy. Yeah, getting rid of the bureaucracy part of it, but it's going all to the private sector.
Which is even worse.
It's worse. It's so unregulated. These people are out of control. They don't care. They have no morals. They have nothing. Nothing.
Do you think the U.S. is going to hit Iran? And I'm saying the U.S. because I don't believe that Israel's a rogue actor in this, in the least.
The problem is that these people are walking themselves walking their backs up to walls. Israel's walking itself into a wall. Iran already did. Iran obviously has no deterrence whatsoever. Their strategic patience and their promises, empty promises of True Promise 3, have erased any deterrence that Iran ever had. They're done. So everything that comes out of there is just squawking. The Israelis have to watch out that they don't paint themselves into a corner where they have to strike, and they're almost there. And if they do, like I said earlier, the United States, I guarantee you, I will bet you my next YouTube measly check that if Israel strikes Iran, the United States will have no choice but to support it and get involved, at least on an aviation or maybe a private mercenary level. But definitely they will be striking Iran. I mean, they struck Iran with F-35s already, so technically America's already struck them, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't doubt you in the least. I mean, I guess the question, I don't believe for a moment that Israel is doing without the U.S. consent. The only bet that I would take, I think they're going to
month of theater kid production
Yeah.
Trump's mad at Bibi. They're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, he's being nice to the Iranians. Like, no, this isn't how this works.
I
Look
think the
who's
U.S.
around
and
Trump.
Israel is going to run into a buzzsaw, and I am there for it. I'm there for it. I hope Iran did. Look, in the same way Russia had to take its respect at the barrel of a gun, I think Iran is going to have to do the same.
No, they don't have the capability.
They don't have a choice.
They don't have the capability.
You don't think so?
Nope.
I'm skeptical. That I will take your check on.
We're watching Arab idealism buttress up against Israeli cynicism, and cynicism is always going to win because cynicism prepares for the worst and hopes for the best. Idealism always thinks you're just going to have the best outcome. I mean, that's what the axis of resistance. They're idealists. They are. They everything's in God's hands, and I mean it's fine to be that way, but Israelis are the opposite. They're like, God said this and we got to carry it out. Like, this is the onus is on us. We got to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, and let's go. And that's why the Israelis are it's just different. And that's, you know what? The Russians are very much like that. Hope for the best, but we got to prepare for the worst.
I think Israel and the US are ideologues. And I think ideologues are by definition wrong. Usually they're wrong. They usually get shit wrong.
The wrong person doesn't always lose. I mean, I don't agree with this.
No, that's true. No, what I mean by that is their perception of reality is often, I'm just saying their perception of reality is often wrong. It's often jaded. Like Hitler was racist. Yeah, and I think the US is thinking in the same way that the US looked at Russia and they thought, oh yeah, they're just Nigeria with snow. They're just a gas station pretending to be a country. We could totally take them out. They got it massively wrong. And I think the U.S. is thinking very similar things right now, telling itself Israel was able to destroy all of its missile capabilities and destroy its thing. Now, I would agree with you on this front. Iran could be projecting. All countries project, right? Look how strong we are. Look at our missiles. Look at us. All of these things that we can defend ourselves with. Look at us show our teeth. Agreed. I do agree with you on that front. But I think they are going to run into a buzzsaw. I had Colonel Wilkerson on the show. He said the U.S. will be militarily defeated if we try to pull some shit like this. And he would.
Get out.
You don't believe him. You buy Douglas McGregor says the same thing.
I don't believe it. No way. This is all very wishful thinking.
I will take your check on this one, Sarah.
Israel.
You put it up. I will take it.
If Israel attacks Iran will not be able to retaliate in a meaningful way. True Promise 2 was a joke. I'm sorry, guys, but it was a joke, okay? Everybody says, oh, they penetrated the air defenses. They built more air defenses since then. They've updated and created new technology. We've been hearing about True Promise 3 for almost a year. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot sit here and say, True Promise 3 is coming. True Promise 3 is coming. It's been memory hold for most people. And when anything comes up with Iran again, that's the first thing they do. You have lost all deterrence. When you allow people to continuously cross your red lines and you just say, True Promise 3 is coming, you're done. You are done. You cannot do that militarily. You have got to strike. There is no such thing as strategic patience, especially when you're dealing with the West. If you were dealing with China, I could see you enacting a strategic patience policy. You are dealing with irrational actors. And that tells me that Iran is not, I don't want to say smart enough because it's not that. They're not savvy enough. I don't know. They just don't. It's just.
I agree with you on that part. You're dealing with maniacs. Like, meaning these are lunatics. These are outright sociopaths. You've just watched them murder hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
And the last thing you want to lose is this notion that we will match you for crazy if you're crazy. Like, meaning we will respond in time.
Iranians would never support that. Yeah. Never. I'm sorry, but no matter, I know a lot of people can, but in Iran, people obviously there's good and bad, but they're also pretty divided. You have to remember the taxes of the Iranian people have gone to places like Palestine and Lebanon to feed Iran's proxies. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. Yeah. And the Iranian people are sick of it. They are sick of it. They're struggling inside of their country due to our sanctions regime, and them sending money abroad is obviously not helping. So
but doesn't that answer your first question, your first point, that Iran Yes, they should have responded, if you want to say that. But they're dealing with a divided country, and B, they're dealing with a country with nukes. And in the same way that Russia is
right, but Iran
using
told us
this
that they were
patience,
days away from making a nuke. They've told us that multiple times. So why haven't you made the nuke then?
that fatwa against nukes.
They have no deterrence. It's all empty promises and bluster.
I think that's wrong. I think that's so wrong. I think there are other strategic considerations.
True Promise 2 was nothing. They wiped out Hezbollah. Hamas is a mess. What am I looking at here? The only formidable proxy is the Houthis. The militias in Iraq are disarmed. What is Iran going to do? They want them to strike U.S. bases. They already said that their response will not include U.S. bases, so they're not planning on striking them. They said it yesterday. Our response will include sites inside of Israel. They are not going to strike U.S. bases. Iran knows that they're up against a wall. If Israel strikes them, they already know we're restricted to responding to only Israel.
Where are you seeing that? Because I just saw the IRGC chief who came out and effectively said we will hit U.S. military bases.
Yeah, it was from the foreign minister, I believe. It was yesterday.
I got you. Because I'm seeing something different. Right here, if the war breaks out, the side will definitely suffer more casualties. Then us and America will be forced to leave the region. We would target all American bases in the region without hesitation. Just last week, we tested our missiles. This was Iran's defense minister told reporters a few hours ago. I can show you the video.
It's all talk, though. They can't do anything to the United States. They really can't.
If Iran is put in a situation where the existence of the state is at stake,
if they strike a United States base, they'll be wiped off the face of the earth.
But they may be wiped off the face of the earth anyway. What's to lose?
No, they won't. If they stay with Israel, it'll go tit for tat, just like they did with True Promise 2. A back and forth. We're going to destroy your nuclear sites. All right, we'll hit you back. And that'll be the end of it. Just like True Promise 2. America does not want to be dragged into this war, and Iran does not want America in this war, and neither does Russia, because Russia's agreement with Iran does not guarantee that Russia comes to its defense. It absolutely does not, and it will not when it comes to Israel. Russia has a very special relationship with Israel, and it's working on its relationship with the United States. So who's going to come to defend Iran? China?
What, 30% of Israel are Russians? Something like that. It's some insanely high number.
Right. So Russia's not going to get involved. So who?
I don't think Russia wants a war. Iran? Well, I don't think Russia wants a war. I don't even think Iran wants a war. But put it this way: it depends on how bad the strike is. It depends on what the U.S. does within the context of the strike. If it's a skirmish versus if it's this week-long bombing campaign or something to that effect. Like it depends on what it is. But True Promise 2, I think you're missing what True Promise 2 was. True Promise 2 wasn't this.
Round?
Yeah, I think it was a practice round.
And then what? Practice for what?
It's a practice. Look, the first time Iran responded to Israel, it was this dog and pony show with the United States, where they effectively told the U.S.
They've gotten 2 people assassinated inside of Iran. Multiple oil refineries are blown up in pipelines. And instead of saying what it really was, Iran says, oh, it was just, an error or a mistake, and we'll just handle it quietly inside. Iran is completely defanged. We're avoiding war, but we're working on True Promise 3.
You want a war.
I don't want a war. I don't want Iran should not be involved at all. Iran should agree to the agreement and be done with it. That's it.
Screw that. That I don't agree with. I don't agree with.
Then the whole region will blow up into war. I don't know what to tell you. These countries have to understand your sovereignty only goes as far as your power. And if you can't defend it, and you keep on talking about True Promise 3 for a year, we're going to test that power, and we're going to find out what's really going on. You cannot do this. You cannot. You can't do this. Strategic patience will kill you. It's hurt Russia. It's hurt Russia very, very badly in this war. And if you don't learn from other people's mistakes, then you're screwed. In the end, you are screwed.
That I agree with. I agree with everything that just came out of your mouth. I just disagree with. They are looking at, I think you hit it right on the head. Strategic patience. It's not really patient in the long run. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't help you. And Russia had to learn that the hard way. And I think Iran is going to learn it the hard way. They've lost credibility. And credibility would have been, we said we're going to strike, we're going to strike. It doesn't matter if Russia is telling us not to do it because they don't want to get pulled into something. It doesn't matter what somebody else is saying. We're going to strike because we have to strike. This is us creating deterrence. They didn't get the memo.
Russia
And
wouldn't
because
tell
they
them not
didn't
to strike anyway. That's their sovereignty. Russia wouldn't encroach on their sovereignty like that,
I so disagree.
especially
It
given
would.
that they're in their own war.
And just be clear, tell may be too strong. What I'm saying is they would advise patience. We're dealing with Putin. I mean, he's not this ogre that I think people are talking about.
So we can blame Putin for the strategic patience then? All
No,
right.
no,
It's
not
a
blaming Putin.
huge mistake, and Hezbollah made the same mistake, strategic patience, and they lost
Agreed.
Nasrallah. These people want to destroy Iran.
Yes.
So they've waited a year to see True Promise 3, and there isn't one. There's been
Agreed.
some videos of an underground submarine base, an underground missile silo that are probably AI, most of it anyway. And people go crazy, and they're like, oh, Israel's getting scared. No, they're not. They're suicidal. They're not scared of anything.
Oh, I don't think Israel was suicidal. I think from their point of view, they're creating greater Israel. And in their minds, these guys are a paper tiger. I think it's to your point. We push, they didn't respond. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing. Yeah. And so if Iran doesn't know that yet, even with nukes, by the way, they're not going to get the memo. But I don't buy this notion that these guys are a paper tiger. I don't buy that.
I don't think that they're a paper tiger. No. I think that they're a formidable opponent. They're not going to beat Israel in the United States. No, there's no way. There's just no way.
I will take your paycheck on that, Sarah.
All right.
I will take your paycheck in a heartbeat.
And
this sounds horrible. I don't even want to bet on this. Yeah, this sounds horrible. I guess, we disagree on this one. I think they're going to run into a buzzsaw. I think they are looking at this with ideological blinders every bit as much as the U.S. was looking through this with Russia, where they took every notion of pragmatism as weakness up until the point where it wasn't. But we'll see, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we'll see.